It's strange, isn't it? The way life can change in an instant, without warning, without a hint. It's like you're walking along a familiar path one moment, thinking everything is going to plan, and the next moment, the ground falls out from beneath you. You're left standing there, clueless, wondering how you got here. That's exactly how it felt when I walked into my empty house that night. I had just spent the last few hours at work, the usual grind, meetings, numbers, deadlines. Nothing unusual. My wife, Selene, had been out with friends, something about a girls' night that I didn't really pay much attention to. She had mentioned it earlier that morning, just a casual statement, like it was no big deal. It wasn't like she'd never gone out without me before. Still, something in my gut told me that tonight was different. I came home to a dark house. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, like something's not quite right. The door was unlocked, which was odd. Selene was always careful about things like that. I stepped inside, calling out her name, but the sound of my own voice echoed back to me, making the place feel even emptier. The kitchen light flickered, and I thought I saw something on the counter, a note. I walked over, picked it up, and read the words scribbled on the paper. I won't be home tonight. I need some time. Don't try to find me. Those words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My hands shook as I held the note, reading it over and over, trying to make sense of it. What did she mean, don't try to find me? This wasn't like Selene. We'd been together for almost 5 years, and while we weren't perfect, this kind of silence, this kind of distance, was unheard of. I immediately called her phone. No answer. I left a message, feeling a mix of anger and confusion rising inside me. She'd never done anything like this. She wasn't the type to just disappear without a word, especially not without telling me what was going on. The night dragged on, and with each passing hour, I became more frantic. I called her friends. No one had heard from her since earlier that evening. It didn't make sense. Selene was a creature of habit. She wouldn't just vanish like this. Around 3 a.m., I got a message from her. I nearly dropped my phone when I saw the notification. It was short, cryptic. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Just leave it be. I felt a chill spread through my body. This wasn't her. This wasn't the woman I knew. She had never been secretive, never been distant. Something was terribly wrong, and I had no idea what it was. I spent the next few days trying to piece together the puzzle. I searched her things, checked her social media, even called her family, but everything was a dead end. The more I searched, the more I felt like I was losing my mind. It was like she had erased herself from existence. Nothing was adding up. Then, 2 days later, I got a knock on the door. It was her sister, Natalie. I hadn't spoken to Natalie much, but she and Selene had always been close. She walked in without a word, her eyes red, as if she had been crying. I asked her what was going on, but she just shook her head, as if she didn't know how to explain it. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice shaking. It's about Selene. I could tell something was wrong. The way Natalie spoke, the way she avoided looking me in the eye, it was like she knew something I didn't. Something that would change everything. She's been hiding things from you. Natalie finally blurted out, her words tumbling out in a rush. There's someone else. I didn't understand. Someone else? Was she talking about a new friend? A colleague? But Natalie's next words hit me like a ton of bricks. Selene, she's been seeing someone for months. I didn't know how to tell you. Everything stopped. Time seemed to stretch out in that moment. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My brain was scrambling to process what Natalie had just said. How was this even possible? How could Selene, the woman I trusted with everything, do this to me? But Natalie wasn't finished. Don't you get it? She said, her voice cracking. This is why she's gone. This is why she disappeared. She's gone with him. She left you, Nathan. I stood there, frozen. The room spun around me. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand answers, but I couldn't find my voice. The woman I loved, the woman I had built my life around, had been living a lie. And I had no idea. I didn't know what to say. The words Natalie had dropped on me were heavy, crushing. My hands shook, and my mind scrambled to catch up with what she had just said. She's been seeing someone? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Natalie nodded, her face pale. I didn't want to tell you this, Nathan, but you need to know. Selene has been keeping a secret from everyone from you. Her eyes welled with tears, and she took a shaky breath before continuing. I didn't know how to say this, but she's been seeing a guy from her work. It's been going on for months now. I felt the room spin. My heart pounded in my chest as the weight of her words sank in. My mind refused to comprehend it. Selene. My Selene. She'd been having an affair, and I never saw it coming. Not even a hint, not a single clue. But why didn't you tell me earlier? I asked, barely able to form the words. You knew about this? You knew, and you didn't tell me? I didn't know how, Natalie said quietly, looking away, clearly uncomfortable. Selene asked me not to say anything. She begged me, Nathan. She said she needed to figure things out on her own. But I couldn't stand seeing you hurt like this. You deserve to know the truth. I sat down, my mind racing. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Selene and I had been through so much together. We had built this life, a life I thought was solid. How could she betray me like this? How could she keep something so big from me? I don't understand, I said, the words barely escaping my lips. How could she do this to me? Natalie's face softened with sympathy. I don't know, Nathan, but I think she's been struggling for a while. I don't know all the details, but it's clear she's made her choice. The words hit me like a physical blow. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I could hardly breathe. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted more than anyone, had chosen someone else. And I had no idea. I wanted to ask more questions, to demand answers, but a flood of emotions surged inside me. Anger, betrayal, confusion. I couldn't make sense of it all. I needed to find Selene. I needed to talk to her, to hear it from her own mouth. But Natalie stopped me before I could leave. She's not coming back, Nathan, she said, her voice shaking with emotion. She's with him now? She's made her choice. I stood there, stunned, as the weight of her words pressed down on me. My mind felt like it was about to shatter. How could I have been so blind? How could I have missed everything that was happening right under my nose? Natalie's voice broke through my thoughts. I'm sorry, Nathan. I wish I could have told you sooner, but I thought maybe she'd come to her senses. But I think you deserve to know the truth. I nodded slowly, my heart sinking. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My entire world was turning upside down, and I had no idea how to stop it. I'll find her, I said finally, my voice low and steady, even though my mind was in chaos. I have to hear it from her. I have to understand why. Natalie didn't argue. She knew there was nothing more she could say. Just be careful, Nathan. I don't know what's going through her head right now, but be careful. With those words, she left. The door clicked shut behind her, and I was left alone in the silence of my home. Alone, with the truth. I sat there for hours, trying to process everything. My mind kept going back to that moment when Selene left, when she wrote that note, when she disappeared into the night. She had been hiding something from me for so long, and now it all made sense. The distance, the secrecy, the late nights at work. It was all a lie, and I had been living it. I knew I had to find her. I had to confront her. But part of me was terrified of what I would find. Would she look at me and tell me it was true? Would she admit that she had been seeing someone else? Or would she try to deny it, to cover up the truth, and leave me with more questions than answers? The hours dragged on, and by morning, I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to let this go. I was going to find Selene, and I was going to get the truth. Little did I know, this decision would set off a chain of events that would change my life forever. The morning light barely touched the edges of the curtains, but I was wide awake. I hadn't slept a wink. My thoughts raced faster than I could keep up. How had it all gone so wrong? How had I missed every sign? I kept going over every conversation, every moment, trying to find a clue, a signal, something, anything, that could have told me what was happening. I grabbed my phone and called Selene again. It went straight to voicemail. I left another message, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my insides were anything but. Selene, I need to talk to you. Please, pick up. I need to understand what's going on. But there was nothing. No reply. No indication of where she was, or even if she was coming back. I knew I had to find her. I had to get some kind of explanation, even if it destroyed everything I thought I knew about our relationship. So I did what I had to do. I started searching. Her friends, her family, her social media accounts. I was looking for any trace of her, any sign that could lead me to where she was hiding. But every door I knocked on led to a dead end. I reached out to her best friend, Jenna. Have you heard from Selene? She's not answering her phone, and I need to talk to her. I asked, trying to sound casual, as though I wasn't losing my mind over it. Jenna's response was exactly what I didn't want to hear. Nathan, I'm really sorry, but I don't know where she is either. She said something to me about needing space, but I don't know what's going on. Space. That word echoed in my mind. It was such a simple word, but it carried so much weight in this context. Space. From me. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to find her. I needed answers. After hours of turning over every possible lead, I finally got a message. It wasn't from Selene. It wasn't even from anyone I knew. It was an unfamiliar number, and the text was short. I know where she is. Meet me at the old cafe by the docks. 4 p.m. My heart raced. Who was this? How did they know? Why was this stranger offering to help? A part of me wanted to ignore it, to walk away and forget about the whole thing. But another part of me, one I couldn't ignore, felt an overwhelming pull to find out the truth. So I grabbed my keys, left the house, and headed straight to the cafe. The weight of what I was about to uncover pressed down on me with each mile I drove. My hands were shaking on the wheel, and I tried to steady my breathing. Whatever was waiting for me at that cafe, it was going to change everything. When I arrived, the place was quiet, almost too quiet. It was a small, run-down cafe near the water, a place I'd only been to once or twice. I parked and stepped inside, the door creaking as it opened. And then I saw him. A man in his mid-30s, with short, messy hair and a serious expression, sitting alone at a table in the corner. He looked up as I entered, and I knew instantly that he was the one who had messaged me. He didn't smile, didn't offer any kind of greeting, just gestured for me to sit. I walked over slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. You know where Selene is? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, but failing miserably. He nodded. I do. But first, you need to know something. I sat down, feeling the weight of every word he was about to say. What do you know about her? What's going on? He leaned in closer, his voice low. Selene's been living a double life. And it's not just some fling she's been hiding. It's something much bigger than that. I stared at him, confusion flooding my mind. What do you mean? What's bigger than an affair? He didn't answer immediately, just stared at me with a coldness in his eyes that sent a chill down my spine. Then, finally, he spoke. Selene isn't the person you think she is. She's not just hiding this guy from you. She's hiding a whole other life. His words hit me like a slap to the face. A whole other life? I repeated, my voice cracking with disbelief. What could that possibly mean? How could Selene, the woman I had shared everything with, have been living another life? The man leaned back in his chair, folding his arms across his chest. You don't get it, do you? He said, his voice almost pitying. This isn't just about some affair. This is about a secret she's been hiding for years. And you've been blind to it all along. I stared at him, trying to make sense of his words. What are you talking about? My mind was racing, but the more I thought about it, the less sense anything made. I had always trusted Selene completely. She had always been so open with me. Or at least, that's what I thought. The man's eyes darkened, and he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. Selene's been part of something much bigger. Something dangerous. My stomach turned. Dangerous? What was he talking about? I couldn't even begin to process what he was saying. I know this is a lot to take in, he continued, but you need to understand. The man she's been seeing, he's not just some guy from work. He's involved in things that could ruin everything. You need to get out of this before it's too late. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my chest. My brain couldn't keep up with the flood of information. I thought I was just dealing with betrayal, but now this? What kind of things? What are you talking about? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The man looked around, almost as if checking to make sure no one was listening. I can't say too much here, but I'll tell you this. Selene's not just hiding an affair. She's been part of a criminal operation. And now, she's in too deep. I blinked, the words making no sense. A criminal operation? Selene? The woman I loved? You're lying, I said, though even as I spoke, the doubt started creeping in. How could he know all this? How could he be so sure? I'm not lying, the man said, his voice cold. I know exactly what's going on. And you need to stop looking for her, Nathan. This is bigger than you think. I felt like the world was spinning. Everything I had known, everything I had trusted, was falling apart. Selene, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, was hiding a dark side. But why hadn't I seen it? How could she keep this from me for so long? I wanted to storm out of the cafe, demand answers, but something in his eyes stopped me. There was a seriousness in them that I couldn't ignore. This wasn't some petty grudge. This was real. What do you want from me? I asked, trying to steady my voice. I couldn't show him how much this was shaking me, even though I was seconds away from losing it. The man exhaled slowly, almost as if he'd been expecting this question. "I'm not here to make things harder for you," he said. "I just want you to understand the danger you're in, and I want you to walk away before things get worse." I swallowed hard. What's worse than this? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he just stared at me, his gaze filled with a cold, unsettling understanding. "You don't know it yet, but things are just getting started. Selene's not coming back. And when she's gone, everything you thought you knew about her will be gone too." I felt a chill in my bones. What had I just walked into? What had I gotten myself into? I sat there, frozen, unable to process everything that was being thrown at me. The cafe around me felt distant, like I wasn't really there. The man's words echoed in my head, twisting my reality into something unrecognizable. Criminal operation? Selene? This couldn't be true. It had to be some kind of sick joke, a misunderstanding. But the look in his eyes said otherwise. He was serious. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that something had been off. "You don't understand," the man said, as if reading my thoughts. "This isn't just about Selene. It's bigger than that. She's tangled in something that has people watching her every move. And by extension, they're watching you now too." I shook my head. "What are you talking about? You're saying that Selene's involved in some criminal ring, and I'm just— what, collateral damage?" He didn't flinch. "Exactly. You're not as safe as you think. This guy she's been seeing isn't just some casual affair. He's a key player in a much larger operation. And now she's in it too." I felt like the room was closing in on me. But why? Why would she get involved in something like this? She's always been good. The man leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "That's the thing, Nathan. She wasn't always good. She's been hiding things from you for a long time. I'm telling you, this isn't some innocent fling. She got in deep, and now she's stuck." I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand the truth. But the more he spoke, the more I could feel this cold reality settling into my bones. My mind couldn't stop spinning. How had I missed all of this? How had I not seen that the woman I trusted with my life had been living this secret, dangerous double life? "Who is he?" I asked, suddenly needing to know everything. "Who's the guy she's been seeing?" The man's eyes flickered with something like hesitation, but then he answered, his voice low. "His name's Leo. He's not from around here. He's been moving in and out of the city for months now. Selene got involved with him under the guise of working with him on a project, but I'm telling you, Nathan, it's way worse than that." I could feel my hands shaking, my pulse thumping in my ears. "A project?" I repeated, barely able to believe my own voice. "This doesn't make sense. Why would she? Why wouldn't she tell me?" He exhaled slowly, as though he had been waiting for that question. "Because she couldn't. She was in too deep. It wasn't just an affair, it was an involvement in something that could destroy both of you if it ever came to light." I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. This wasn't just about infidelity, it was something far worse. I had been blind, so incredibly blind. Selene wasn't the person I thought she was. The man stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Listen, I've said everything I need to. I told you what you need to know. It's up to you what you do with it." He paused, his gaze lingering on me for a moment. "But be careful. People like Leo, they don't let go easily. And if you keep looking for Selene, you'll only get pulled deeper into this mess." I stood up too, suddenly feeling like I couldn't breathe. What should I do? My voice barely sounded like my own, as if the reality of what was happening hadn't fully hit me yet. The man's eyes darkened. "I don't know, but you need to decide if you're going to get out, or if you're going to follow this path all the way down." I watched as he walked out of the cafe without another word, leaving me standing there, trying to piece together a shattered life. I was in over my head. I had no idea where Selene was, or what she was involved in. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't just walk away. Not without knowing the full truth. I spent the rest of the day in a haze. The man's words kept echoing in my mind, twisting around everything I thought I knew about my life. My hands were still shaking, my mind still racing. I needed to do something. I couldn't just sit around waiting for Selene to come back, or worse, disappear completely. But where did I even start? I had no idea where Selene could be. She had always been careful, private. This wasn't like her. She had always been the type of person who would confront things head-on, no matter how difficult. This secret life, this dangerous world she'd gotten herself mixed up in didn't make sense. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through my contacts. There had to be someone who could help me make sense of all this. Her work colleagues? A friend from her past? But everyone I called gave me the same vague answers. I haven't heard from her in a few days. Or, she seemed fine when I last spoke to her. None of it was helping. Then, I remembered something, the name Leo. I had no idea who he was, but I knew one thing for sure. If I wanted answers, I needed to find him. Leo was the key to everything, and I was willing to do whatever it took to uncover the truth. I didn't have any solid leads, but I couldn't afford to waste any more time. I drove to the area near her office, hoping to spot someone who might know him, or at least recognize the name. As I drove, the reality of it all began to settle in. This wasn't just a case of a cheating spouse. This was something far darker, something I couldn't ignore. After what felt like hours of searching, I finally stumbled upon a familiar face, Charlotte, one of Selene's colleagues. She was walking out of a cafe, and for a split second, I almost hesitated. What was I going to ask her? How was I going to get any useful information without sounding completely insane? But I didn't have time for hesitation. I approached her, trying to keep my voice steady. Charlotte, have you seen Selene? I need to know where she is. Something's going on, and I can't find her. She stopped in her tracks, her eyes widening slightly. There was a brief moment of hesitation before she answered. I haven't seen her in a few days either. But I don't know where she is, Nathan. I'm sorry. It wasn't much, but the fact that Charlotte didn't seem shocked by my desperation was enough to raise my suspicions. Had Selene told her something? Was there more to the story than she was letting on? Before I could press her further, she quickly added, "You should be careful, Nathan. There's a lot going on that you don't know about." Her words hit me like a warning, but also like a challenge. What do you mean? I asked, the question barely out of my mouth before I realized how stupid it sounded. But Charlotte didn't answer. She turned and walked away without another word. I stood there, a mix of frustration and fear building inside me. I was so close to the answers I needed, but now I was more lost than ever. The truth was just out of reach, and I could feel it slipping further away with every passing moment. But I wasn't going to stop, not now. Not when everything I thought I knew about Selene was crumbling. The next few days felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. My life had become an endless loop of unanswered calls, dead ends, and cryptic warnings. Everyone around me seemed to be hiding something. The more I searched, the more I uncovered, each discovery leading to something darker than the last. I kept thinking about Charlotte's words. There's a lot going on that you don't know about. They lingered in my mind like a threat, pushing me forward, but also warning me to stop. I was getting too close, I could feel it. But the truth, whatever it was, had become my obsession. I needed to know what had really happened. That evening, after another failed attempt to track down any leads, I received a message. It wasn't from Selene, but it was from an unknown number. The message simply read, "You don't want to know the truth. Walk away." My heart skipped a beat. The message wasn't just a warning, it was a dare. Someone didn't want me digging any deeper, and that only made me more determined. Whoever this was, they knew something. But the question was, who were they? I couldn't ignore it. Not now. The next morning, I went back to the cafe by the docks. I knew the man who had given me the first piece of the puzzle would be there. It was a risk, but at this point, every choice felt like a gamble. When I walked in, he was sitting at his usual spot, a cup of coffee in front of him, his eyes scanning the room like he was waiting for something. He didn't even look up when I approached. "I knew you'd be back," he said flatly. I sat down without waiting for an invitation. "I need to know what's really going on. I've been warned, and I know you're involved in all of this. You need to tell me the truth." He sighed, setting his cup down slowly. "I warned you, Nathan. I told you to walk away. You should have listened." "I can't walk away," I shot back, my voice cracking with frustration. "I need to know everything. Why is Selene involved in this? Why are people trying to stop me from finding out?" He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if considering whether to reveal more. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "You think this is about an affair, right? That's what you've been clinging to. That's what you think all this is about. But it's not. Selene's involved in something far worse." I felt a chill run through me. "What do you mean?" "She's been working with Leo for months," he said, his voice steady but heavy with meaning. "But it's not just about him. They're part of a much larger operation. It's not just business. It's dangerous, Nathan. People like Leo don't just disappear. They're tied to things that can ruin lives. I leaned forward, desperate for more. What kind of operation? What are they doing? He hesitated again, his gaze flickering with something I couldn't read. It's not what you think. It's not about money or power. It's much worse. Leo's been involved in smuggling, but he's not working alone. There's a network, and Selene got caught in it. She didn't know what she was getting into at first. But now she's too deep to get out. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Smuggling? A network? I couldn't believe it. Selene, the woman I had loved for so long, was tangled up in something that could destroy everything. What does this have to do with me? I demanded, trying to hold myself together. Why are people warning me? What do they want from me? He leaned in, lowering his voice even further. You're involved, whether you realize it or not. They've been watching you for a while now, and they know you're looking for her. That makes you a liability. You need to stop before you get in too deep. I felt my blood run cold. My mind was reeling. I had been living in a nightmare without even realizing it, and now the stakes were higher than I ever imagined. Selene wasn't just hiding from me. She was hiding from a whole world I never knew existed. I stood up abruptly, the weight of everything sinking in. Where is she? Where can I find her? The man didn't answer immediately. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he said, You don't. Not unless you're willing to risk everything. Because if you keep going down this path, you won't just lose her, you'll lose yourself too. And with that, he stood up and walked away, leaving me standing there, alone, in the middle of a storm I had no idea how to navigate. I stood there, feeling the weight of his words pressed down on me like a ton of bricks. Everything was spiraling out of control, and I could barely keep up. The reality of the situation hit me hard. Selene, the woman I loved, wasn't just hiding from me. She was caught in something far bigger than either of us could have imagined. I left the cafe in a daze, not knowing where to go next. The streets felt empty, and my mind was racing with questions I couldn't answer. Should I stop looking? Should I just walk away and let her go? Could I ever live with the unknown? But then, something inside me clicked. I wasn't the type of person to back down from a challenge, especially when it involved the woman I loved. If Selene was caught in something dangerous, I wasn't going to let her face it alone. I couldn't. She needed me, whether she realized it or not. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling as I typed a message to the one person I knew could help me. Charlotte. I need to find her. Can you help me? The reply came quickly. Meet me at the park in 30 minutes. I made my way to the park, my heart pounding with anticipation. Charlotte was the key. She knew more than she had let on, and I was sure she could help me find Selene. When I arrived, she was waiting by the old bench near the fountain, her expression tense but hopeful. I know where she is, Charlotte said quietly, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. I've been talking to her. She's safe for now, but she's terrified, Nathan. She doesn't know what to do, and she's been trying to protect you. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Where is she? She's staying with someone she trusts. I can take you there, but you have to promise me something, Charlotte said, her eyes locking onto mine. You can't blame her for what happened. She didn't want this. She never meant for any of this to happen, but it's too late to turn back now. I nodded. I promise. I just need to talk to her. Charlotte led me to a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of town. We walked in silence, the weight of the moment hanging between us. When we finally reached the door, my heart was pounding in my chest. I was about to come face to face with Selene, and I didn't know what I was going to say. Charlotte knocked softly, and the door opened to reveal Selene. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. But when she saw me, something in her expression softened. Nathan, she whispered, stepping forward as if unsure whether to embrace me or run. I didn't hesitate. I took her hands in mine, pulling her into a tight hug. I'm here, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I don't care what's happened. We'll figure this out together. She pulled back, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Nathan. I never meant for any of this to happen. I got in too deep, and I didn't know how to get out. I thought I was protecting you, but I just made everything worse. I stroked her hair, trying to calm her. You don't have to protect me anymore. We're in this together. Whatever happens, we face it together. And that was the moment everything changed. The past few days had been filled with confusion, pain, and betrayal. But now, standing there with Selene, I realized that love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about avoiding mistakes. It was about sticking together, no matter how dark the road ahead seemed. We had a long way to go. There were still dangers to face, people to confront, and a future we had to rebuild. But for the first time in days, I felt a sense of hope. Selene squeezed my hand, her eyes meeting mine. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she whispered. And in that moment, I knew everything would be all right. No matter how hard things got, we would face them together. The storm had passed, and the sun was finally starting to rise again.